All right, everybody, welcome to another episode of Unapologetically Chasing Dreams. I'm here with, what's your name again?
I'm Jesse.
Oh, Jesse. Yeah, Jesse. I forget who he is sometimes because he's like buried into the studio in a dark room for, 19, 20 hours a day.
Doing your video bidding.
Yeah, and then we just open the slot and we slide you some bread and water.
I get some fish heads.
I mean, you're looking really fit right now, though.
Why, thank you. It's the stress.
Fuck. You're not lying. It's been a trying, couple weeks since our last episode when talking about it. My father passed away. And I don't laugh because of that. One of the things that happened is my dad, he was fortunate enough to pass away at home. And he was still there when, my sister had called me and I went over there, and my mom was, laying on my dad, and, she was mourning, and that was sad. And then she looked up and she said, "But I still have my two sons, my beautiful grandchildren, and my daughter, Lori, who's my favorite."
Well, that makes sense.
And, my brother looked at me with these big eyes and was like, "God damn." Like, she really said it. We already all knew it, but she said it. And,
well, your sister is definitely probably the best put together one mentally in that family.
Yeah, we come from a long line of lunatics. And that's when you're going to be okay. But, we had talked about it recently in episodes before. Like, we're at that part of life where stuff is going to start to happen. We're going to start to lose people that we care about and love. And, one of the unfortunate parts of being an entrepreneur is, like, you don't get, like, in a nice way, people don't give a fuck. If you got clients and stuff, that work still has to get done.
Yeah.
And sometimes that is, it's also a good thing because, like, the busier you are, then, the more that's off your mind, and you can kind of operate and, get things done that need to be done.
Well, it is, definitely a big change from, I guess the last job, I was bartending, I was working as a pizza delivery guy, all jobs you really had to be there that day to get paid for, but you're still a W-2 employee. You can take sick days, you can take time. And that's one thing about owning your own business and working in this. It kind of all falls on you. So you have to juggle that when you're going through stuff. Like, how do you do it? And there is, I think our mindset, we're comfortable with working through stress, trauma, all that stuff, just because we have that frenetic sort of hyperactive attitude towards life. But it's, I think it's a lot different, when somebody like your dad's age. How old was he? He was in his 80s?
Yeah, he was 84.
Yeah.
And the most incredible part of this story is my dad had only ever been in the hospital one time. When he got home from Vietnam, he had his appendix rupture. And since then, he'd never been in the fucking hospital a day in his life.
Yeah.
That.
No, that's insane. Because, your dad, I think he's 12 years older than my dad. No.
Yep.
10. Oh, it's 9 years. My bad. Time flies.
Yep.
But funny side note, because we're getting into the AVM season and everything, because your dad and my dad were in the same
173rd Airborne.
Yep. Just way different years.
Yeah.
Because my dad was 70 to 71. Yours was,
I want to say 66 through 69.
Because he was there when, like, shit was hitting the fan.
Yeah, it got real out of control. I think it was the Battle of the Idrain Valley that got, super out of hand. And so he was in there in that time. But it is crazy and ironic that they both served with the 173rd Airborne. Yeah,
just different times, different personality types. Like your dad, he volunteered.
Yeah.
And he did 2 tours. My dad technically volunteered. He was about to get drafted because he dropped out of college. So he went in because he didn't want to be a draftee. But he did, I think they did the 2-year circuits then?
Yeah, it was, I'm not sure exactly, but I know that he had done, 2 tours. And, like we talked about it, it's crazy because your dad's personality versus my dad's they're completely different. Like, but that's what makes the world go around. No two people are exactly the same.
Yeah, my dad was a hippie before he went to Vietnam, which is interesting. But he came back. He had his mustache down to his waist, long hair. He was cruising around motorcycles, that sort of life in the 70s. And your dad was very, he was like hyper organized, kind of like a military dad, you'd think.
Oh, we were talking about it. I mean, insane clean freak, like super neat. Everything's organized. Like there better not be a speck of dust on the floor. And Yeah, it's so crazy. And one of the craziest stories is my dad was a very intuitive man, and about a week before they were leaving a restaurant, and he saw a full cigarette on the ground, and so he picked it up. My mom's like, "What the hell are you doing?" And he's like, "I want to have a cigarette before I die." And she's just like, "Well, you don't need that." And so they came home, and he pulls it out, and it broke. And so my mom's like, "Good." Good.
Yeah.
And so she's like looking out the back window one day, and she sees smoke coming from the garage. He's back there, having a smoke. And one of the things is when the coroner came out with all his stuff, they're like, "We found this in his pocket. It was a lighter."
Well, get that last one in. Yeah. I mean, as long as you're not, because he wasn't a smoker at all.
He was a smoker and a drinker many years before.
Yeah.
But I think my sister was saying he hadn't smoked in 16, 17 years. So it was quite a long time.
Yeah. I think my everybody in the Army back then got Marbreds in their kit. So I think everybody got smokes, or was it Lucky Strike? I can't remember who it was. Yeah. But yeah, my dad smoked for a bit. But yeah, I mean, it's insane. Yeah. Living into his 80s.
Yeah. And what's crazy is like, very few people, if they had to choose the way that they were going to die or they wanted to die. My dad talked about it from when I was a little kid, and he would always be like, I just pray to God that it's fast, and like if I could choose, I would go in my sleep. Yeah. And literally, he woke up, he went and shoveled his walk. My sister heard him come in. He poured himself a cup of coffee. He sat down, and he fell asleep in his chair and died.
Yeah.
And so it was like he didn't even get to take a drink of his coffee. It was like that quick. And I'm like, so I told my mom, as sad as it is like there's beauty in that and peace and knowing like, dude, the day before he had drove himself to get a haircut, my dad was still very physically capable. He shoveled his walk, he mowed his lawn, he painted his gutters, like he did all the stuff for himself that he could. And it was just his time.
Yeah. I mean, if you're going to go, that's the way. I think that's how everybody would like to go, instead of wasting in a hospital or going through long periods of pain. I mean, you gotta be thankful when that happens.
Yeah, no, absolutely. So, this year started out with with that happening, but from a business perspective, things are going very, very well. Our team's really catching flow. We're getting all our systems in place, and Wyatt and Mike are really kicking ass this year.
Yeah, we got some great team members. Coming out of a rough end we talked about in the last episode, it was a rough end of the year, but the start of this year is looking really promising. Especially, we had a great set of events, even with a snowstorm.
Yeah, that was crazy. Yeah. I mean, completely full house. It didn't stop people coming out and supporting. And I'm always like, fuck, it's Colorado. Like, we drive in fucking storms to go do what we want to do.
It's weird on that, even back when I worked in bars, what crowds will come out in and what they won't. No one likes rain, but a blizzard people are down with.
Rain will fuck your life up.
Yeah.
And it's crazy. If you get to a concert and it starts raining, it's cool. It's no big deal. But if it's torrential downpour, you better just kiss your ass goodbye as far as thinking you're going to have a successful show. It will destroy it.
Yep. Yeah, it's crazy.
All right, guys, thank you for tuning in for another episode of Unapologetically Chasing Dreams. Go to our YouTube channel and subscribe for more content.